To provide a better overview, the CBS instruments are color-coded for the different screw dimensions. You will need the following corresponding instruments to implant a MAGNEZIX cortical bone screw CBS: a gliding hole drill bit, a threaded hole drill bit, the accompanying double drill guide, an insert drill sleeve, a countersink, the depth gauge for screws, a tap, a screwdriver blade, and a screwdriver handle with quick coupling. The use of an optional holding sleeve secures the screw to the screwdriver blade prior to the screwing operation. To do this, the holding sleeve must be pushed as far as it will go over the screwdriver blade. After the screw has been placed on the screwdriver blade, the holding sleeve is pushed back until the screw head is enclosed. The screw is now secured to the screwdriver and can be passed to the surgeon or screwed in. Before the screwing operation is finalized, make sure that the holding sleeve is retracted as far as it will go. This video describes the refixation of a bone fragment to the distal humerus using a MAGNEZIX CBS 3.5 cortical bone screw. Before the MAGNEZIX CBS 3.5 can be implanted, the fracture must be repositioned and temporarily stabilized. The gliding hole is drilled using a 3.5mm drill bit through the double drill guide. The drilling process must end at the fracture gap. If necessary, use an image intensifier to check the depth. Remember that the lag screw will be positioned vertically and in the center of the fracture line. To prepare the threaded hole in the far cortex, the 2.5mm double drill guide, or, if available, the 2.5mm insert drill sleeve, is inserted into the drill hole of the near cortex to allow a hole to be pre-drilled in the far cortical bone side on the correct axial alignment. A 2.5mm drill bit is inserted through the insert drill sleeve and used to drill the hole. The insert drill sleeve can now be removed. To improve force transmission, the head space is now prepared using the countersink tool. Always remember that if the head space is too deep and the cortical bone is very thin, there will be no support for the screw head. This should always be done without a power tool. The depth gauge is used to determine the screw length. Always measure before cutting the thread. The length of the screw can be read off directly from the scale. In our case, the length is 40mm. The thread can now be tapped in the far fragment. This should always be done without a power tool. While tapping the thread, make repeated quarter turns to the left to break the cortical chip. The double drill guide protects the surrounding tissue while this is happening. The screw is then inserted through the gliding hole of the near cortical bone side and screwed into the thread section of the far cortical bone side. This should always be done without a power tool. Observe the fracture gap during this process to check how much compression is being exerted. Loosen the repositioning aid before you finish tightening the screw to check the compression exerted on the fracture gap. If required, you can use an optional holding sleeve to help at the start of the insertion process. The holding sleeve holds the screw head securely and fixes it to the screwdriver blade. The fracture has now been treated.